Hey Forever Strong, welcome back. We are going to do a full lower body flow today. So anything from the hips down, we're going to be hitting about 20 minutes. Equipment that you need today, possibly a band or towel, lacrosse ball, maybe some blocks. It's really up to you. The only thing that's really necessary is some sort of lacrosse ball or something hard. What we're going to start with today is a pike stretch. So you're going to sit down, legs facing out in front of you. That pike stretch is reaching for your feet. If you feel like you can't reach the toes, that's when you might want this band or a towel wrapping around your feet. Then you can pull your your upper body towards your feet here. Not necessary though. You can always just put your hands on the backs of your calves and bring your chest towards your knees, like so. Really good stretch for the lower back, the erector spinae, those muscles that run down the spine that we engage in our deadlifts. Good for the hamstrings, really the full back of the leg here. So ease your way into it, try not to force it too much. Okay to round your shoulders here as well. Maybe you're starting to loosen up a little bit. Maybe try to reach for the sides of your feet. Maybe you can reach for your toes. Deepen that stretch. Alright, roll your upper body up. Next we're going to do a half saddle. So you're going to take your right leg, you're going to bend it at the knee here, leave left leg out in front of you. Toes can be splayed out just a bit here, if you can see that. And what we're going to do is we're going to lean back. So the further you lean back, the more intense this stretch is going to be. It's opening up this front side here. So you're going to start feeling it. You might even feel it at the knee, coming up the quad into the hip flexor. If you are super mobile, your hips are actually going to be square to the mats. So I'm getting there, but I still have a slight hip pop on the right side here. So my goal is to try to push this right hip down as much as I can. And then I'm going to lean back if I feel like this is not giving me as much of a stretch as I want to. We have 2 minutes on each side, so plenty of time to open it up. Knee should be facing down towards your toe. Try to sink your belly button into your spine on this one as well. That's going to help align everything. If you're super bendy, you might even be able to go all the way onto your back. But if you get into that position and you feel like your hips are really propped up, like they're really high, your shoulders and your feet, they come up to a point like you're at a pyramid, maybe come back up to that propped arm position here. Again, we want to try to keep our hips square to the floor. So if you really feel like you're bunching up, maybe modify a little bit. Totally fine to be on palms here. If this is enough, forearms, or like I said, on your back if you're ready. Really good for the ankle in this position as well, with your foot propped back. Good for the knee. All right. Come out of that, so making your way up into that seated position again, you're gonna unwind that leg, stretch it out. You're gonna take that opposite leg, so my left leg, I'm gonna bring it back beside me. Again, once I get into that position, I'm gonna come back until I feel that stretch. I'm gonna lean back on my forearms. So you can see my foot, my toe is pointing straight back at my shoulders. My heel is up by my hip. My knee is pointing down towards my foot. Again, I'm gonna try to press my left hip down. So it's a little bit high, if you can see that adjustment. And I'm gonna press it down. You're gonna feel that stretch in that quad or that hip flexor, depending on where you're tight. We're gonna rest here. If you are feeling any sort of pinching or pain in this position, that means you're down too far. So come back up onto your hands if you're on your forearms, and then just slide your hands back. That's a good way to do this pose too. Farther your hands out or away from your shoulders, the more you're gonna lean back, you're gonna feel that stretch. Closer they are to your hips, the more upright you're gonna be, less you're gonna feel the stretch, so you don't necessarily need to come down onto your forearms. Slowly going to make our way out of this. Bring that foot around. Maybe do a little shake. We're going to switch over to a seated straddle. So I'm going to face you because I like to have my feet lined up with the corners of my mat. Just as a guideline, just so I can see how far I want my legs to be. So in the seated straddle, you're going to mimic like you would when you were trying to do the splits if you were standing on your feet. With this one, you may not go down very far. If you have blocks handy, you can put them underneath your booty to help elevate and bring your chest forward, because we're going to be leaning forward like so. Or you can roll up your mat, sit on the folded part of your mat. It's going to do the same thing for you. So first thing you can do with this stretch, if you simply just want to bring your torso forward, so leading with that chest, you're going to feel it all up in the groin. I feel it a lot behind my knees. Stretching out those tendons there. If you feel like you're not getting a lot out of this position, you can always reach for your underneath your ankles or for the bottoms of your feet. Give yourself a little shrug. Reach for those soles of your feet, and that's going to help bring your chest down as well. What I want you to think about in this pose, though, is trying to keep the backs of your legs flat on the mat as possible. So I don't want to see bent knees like this. Nice and flat. We're about a minute in, so we're halfway there. The nice thing I like about these lower body flows too is once you get the hang of it, you kind of mix and match the movements or poses that you like the best or what you want to focus on. Then I grab myself a book, I put on my phone timer, and then I do it that way. It makes it go by pretty fast, or you can put something on the TV, listen to a podcast, or you can just meditate. Last little bit here. And then roll yourself up into that seated position. I like to put my hands and brace my thighs as I bring my legs back together, especially if we're in that seated straddle for a longer period of time. It just helps me feel more comfortable when I get into that seated position again. Next, we're going to do a hurdler. So again, we're going to focus on that hip flexor, but just a different variation. So double dose today. Left leg back. Instead of having toe prop back like this, though, you're going to have your foot out at an angle. Sole of your right foot is going to be pressed up against your quad of your left. So you form kind of like a Z or an S shape. And you're going to lean back. So again, this is another hip flexor psoas stretch. But I thought it'd be good to kind of give us a double dose of it in our lower body stretch today. And again, you want to try to even out those hips. This one is a little bit more intense for me, even when I'm just on my forearms. Just because with the way my right leg is bent, it just feels a little bit different. So we have 2 minutes on each side here. Again, you can change the intensity of the stretch by either being on your hands, pushing your hands back away from your shoulders, coming down onto your forearms, or even on your back. But again, if you feel like your hips are really rising in the air while you're on your back, maybe don't go there just yet. Stay on those forearms. About 20 more seconds. Relax into the pose as much as possible. And slowly make your way back up. Palms pressing into the mats, come into that seated position. Legs out in front of you. Give a little shake, and we're gonna switch it up. So right leg back. Again, foot out at an angle here. Kind of mimicking that forward foot. So my left foot is against my quad. I want my right foot to be kind of at that same angle so they're running parallel to each other. Then once you're situated, leaning back to that position. I feel this on my right side. You'll see my hips a little bit higher on this side than my left. So I'm just trying to rotate as much as I can. Not super successful, but trying to press my right hip down as much as possible. Again, I'm engaging my abs here, so pressing my belly button into my spine to help with pressing that hip down. Few more seconds. And make your way out of that position. You're going to wrap that right leg around. You're going to cross it in front of you. So not exactly like cross-legged like we would as kids where our feet are underneath our legs. They're actually going to be kind of interlaced in between our legs. So my left foot is tucked in between the crease of my right leg. My right leg is in front of my left, if you can see that here. And we're just going to reach forward. So this is really good for the glutes, getting into that deep glute area. So the more you reach forward, the more you're going to feel it. If you think about pressing down through your forearms, you're going to feel it as well. So I feel it more here than if I kind of sink my head, because I kind of lose tension in my upper half. So I like to press my palms down, my forearms down, and bring my chest to the mats as much as possible. I think this one just feels really good. It's not super intense. It just feels like a nice, good stretch to counteract everything from the day. Inch your hands towards your legs. Come into that upright position. We're going to switch out legs. So right leg is now going to be on the inside of the left. Toes are going to be tucked into the back of the knee. Left leg in front. And again, we're going to reach forward here, keeping that tension in the arms, bringing chest down towards the mat. Make your way into a seated position. Last stretching type pose that we're going to do is a downward dog pose. But we're actually going to focus on calves rather than shoulders like you usually would with a downward dog. So a lot of people think in yoga with a downward dog that it's actually supposed to be a calf stretch. But that's not actually the case. You're supposed to be engaging your shoulders, pressing your head through. It's supposed to be more of a shoulder exercise than legs. But today, we're going to do it a little bit different. So we're going to come up into that downward dog position here. You may have your feet a little bit closer to your hands than you usually do. You're going to try to drop your heels down towards the mats. I'm pressing, shifting my weight back to help do so. Then I'm going to pick up my right foot and I'm going to put it on my left calf. What that's going to do is going to add a little bit of extra weight to that left side, help increase the stretch in that calf. You're actually also going to feel it all the way up the back of your leg, maybe even into your booty. So it's gonna be a quick few more seconds here. We're gonna only do a minute on each side. Bring that right foot down. We're gonna switch legs. So right foot, press into the mat, left foot coming over top, pressing onto that calf. Again, feeling that stretch. And the nice thing about this stretch too is you can kind of move around a little bit. So depending on where you want to feel that stretch more, you might position your weight more into your palms. There it hits my calf a bit more. I might push back. I feel it in my booty a bit more. Whatever feels good to you. Find that spot. About 20 more seconds. Alright, left foot down. Come on to hands and knees. If you have shoes on, take your shoes off. Grab your racquetball. You might want to find a spot where you can brace yourself. What you're going to do, I'm just going to focus on my feet here, so I'm going to stand up. You're just going to roll that ball around in your arch of your foot, on the outside of your foot. And you just want to do this for about 30 seconds on each foot. Just helps release all that tension that we carry in our feet. Switch over to the other side. I didn't quite think about my sock selection when I was going to do this video. And just roll it around. Last thing I like to do after I do mobility is I do the pose that I started with, just to see if I got a little bit more flexible during that 20 minutes or whatever it be. So come back into your pike position, reach for your feet, see where you are now, be proud of yourself for putting in the time. Even that little bit probably increased your flexibility just an inch. So nice work, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.